What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's edition of the Philly Sports Pulse. This is going to be a great episode because we have the founder, the CEO of 302 Birds, the very network that you are watching this program, Dalton Holland. How are we doing, my friend?
Hey guys, I'm happy to be here. I'm no Adam, but I'll try my best tonight for you guys. Jesse, thank you for having me. You guys are doing a great job on this show. Jesse, you're doing a great job running your guys' Instagram. If you guys haven't, check out philly.sports.pulse on Instagram. Of course, check out the home network 302 Birds. Got a lot of good stuff cooking here. But thank you for having me, Jess.
Yeah, no problem. Let's get right into this thing. And the big news, the huge news. Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson, both of them back in the same day. A 1-2 punch, a knockout punch, if you will. Not trying to steal KJ's line,
No, that was
but
great. Well done. Anytime we can shout out Balboa Steaks, by all means.
listen, yeah, shout out Balboa Steaks and all of our sponsors. But yeah, Lane and Dickerson given the knockout punch to this beautiful Thursday. Uh, I'm stoked. I am stoked that these guys are back. I am a little concerned. I'm not gonna lie with the injury history behind the both of these guys. Lane and Landon both did not play a lot of this season. Lane getting up there in age. Landon younger, but because of the injuries he was dealing with a little bit, we may have seen a Andrew Luck situation. Thank God we didn't. Thank God both of those guys are back. But I wonder, Dalt, now that these guys are back, what do you kind of see these guys contributing to the team? Uh, do you see these guys, especially Lane, producing at the Hall of Fame level that he did? Or because of the injuries, the rest of these guys' careers will be a little bit muted?
I think it's going to be tough for Lane to get back to where he was. You know, when you think about how talented Lane Johnson was at what he's done for a long time, I mean, it's been damn near 13 years now that this guy's been at it. And that's not easy to do at a high level for that long. Um, I don't expect him to be the same Lane. However, does that mean that he could still be better than someone that they draft or someone that they pick up in free agency? Yes. Let me explain it to you guys in terms like Madden, right? If you're playing Madden and Lane Johnson, I think literally in the game is a 99 still, which is crazy at his age. But you have somebody like Lane who, let's just say, we'll say is a 97 overall. Coming back, I would say Lane is going to be like a 93, 92. So he's going to take a step back, but he's still going to be Lane fucking Johnson. He's still going to be better than some Joe Schmo that you're going to get on the street, some kid that you're going to draft in college and have to develop. That doesn't mean that I still wouldn't go O-line in the first round of the draft. The only other thing I want to say about this too, um, here's something interesting, Jess. I found it very fascinating that Dickerson decides to announce that he's coming back right after Lane Johnson. It's like the chemical reaction effect. And I don't want to say that I'm disappointed in Dickerson, but I kind of am. I don't know, just calling it like it is. The reason is here's why. I wanted Dickerson to decide that he wanted to come back on his own terms. Not like, oh, I'll only come back if Lane comes back. Because what does that mean? When Lane Johnson retires, is Dickerson going to retire? Now there could be more variables in there too, like Stoutland out, Lane leaving. He could have just been like, you know what? This was a really fun 4 years, 3 years, but I'm ready to hang him up. I wish that he would have given it a day or two, or I wish that and I don't know how this all works, right? Like, I don't know if they're texting agents, if it's over the weekend they had a conversation and they agreed on Thursday they would break this news, if it's completely coincidental or what. But if the news about Landon came out only because of Lane, that's a little bit frustrating for me. I'm happy Landon's back, but I want it to be Landon's decision to come back. I don't want it to be Landon's coming back because Lane's coming back, if that makes any sense. Because I feel like that's like a wet bag. That's an issue waiting to happen. And if that's the case, the Eagles should probably draft O-line first and second round, knowing that Dickerson's probably going to hang him up soon too.
Yeah, well, see, that was going to be my next question, because I still think that the Eagles should go offensive line in the draft, and heavily, I might add, offensive line and tight end. Those are my two positions that I really think that you need to be investing in. The offensive line position, because yes, we got Lane back, we got Dickerson back. I love that. But that does not discount the struggles of guys like Tyler Steen, like Matt Pryor. Like, I hate to throw Jordan Mailata under the bus. I love my guy. He's got the pipes in the voice. That brother can sing. But that does not discount his career high in penalties last season. Matt Pryor, I got to go back on him. Let me put it to you this way, folks. I feel like I could block better than Matt Pryor this season. That's all I'm saying. That guy should not have touched the field. And the fact that he got as many stats as he did when Fred Johnson was available, that was disgusting. That's here nor there. But that sort of emphasizes the lack of production in this offensive line room. And it's still going to hurt big time with a guy in Jeff Stoutland not being with the team. Now, the guy from Minnesota that we picked up, he might be the next, offensive line coach for the next 13 years, like Stoutland was, but you don't know that, So I feel like you gotta, like they always say, build up from the trenches and grab a guy at the offensive line position. I don't know how in depth it is. I don't know how stacked it is. I'm going to leave my guy Adam for that next week, and in the weeks leading up to the draft. But Dalt, where do you stand early on as we are a little ways away from the draft? Offensive line, do you go there or do you go tight end?
I'm going O-line, right? Like, if these Kyle Pitts rumors are true, like we're hearing, I would hypothetically love if the Eagles either keep Goddard and Pitts and sign Pitts, or if you let Goddard go, bring in Pitts and go get Likely. Like, you're going to need some kind of a 2 tight end set, and I don't want to draft somebody. And also, like, tight ends nowadays, I hate to say it, they're kind of a dime a dozen, right? Like, let's just call it like it is. Doesn't mean you can't get a badass tight end in the 3rd or 4th round of the draft this year. Somebody that at least contributes, right? Like, where'd we get Calcaterra? And he's not a bad player. He's not, necessarily exceptional either, but he's not bad. He does the job. He's serviceable. So I think that they can get a serviceable tight end later in the draft. If it was up to me, I would highly consider right side of the offensive line, right guard. I would zero in on that position. We'll see where Mekhi Becton lands. That's going to be fascinating to see with these 2 signings, because that almost helps, I feel like, the Mekhi Becton decision. And the last thing I'll say is I feel like Mekhi is either going to go to either the Eagles now because he's going to want to go back to his team, or whatever team Stoutland ends up signing with. I think Mekhi, there's a good chance he could go there too, to be reunited with Stoutland. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be huge. I mean, we saw how good this offensive line was in the Super Bowl year. Everything was clicking. The defense was clicking. Saquon was clicking, and I feel like we've harped on this in years past. Not in shows past, in the past shows. We've harped on this in the past shows. When the offensive line is healthy, Saquon Barkley goes absolutely mental. I really don't blame Saquon for the year he had. He still had, if you look at the tape, if you're a ball knower, that guy had the explosiveness like he did in 2024 when he was the offensive player of the year. I really think if, you get a competent offensive line, a healthy offensive line, Saquon Barkley is going to be the Saquon Barkley that we all know and we all love.
I sure hope so, because we got probably 2 years left with him. He said that. That's the comment that I keep going back to in my head, is when he told this team and the media that he probably only has 3 years left. He meant that when he said that. And there's no reason, I think, for him to keep going and driving his body into pain in his older years. Like, he's going to stop playing when he wants to. And I think that that could scare a lot of people, because there's a lot of NFL players that are going to start to do that. Luke Kuechly, another great example. Somebody that some may say retired early, wasn't necessarily like, hey, Jason Peters, I'm going to get a check as long as I can. But yeah, I think, sorry, who was the player I was? Oh, Saquon. Back to Saquon. I don't think that Saquon is going to be here longer than 3 years, because I think he's going to be done in the NFL in longer than 3 years. And I know that may sound like a hot take. I hope I'm wrong on that, but that was his own wording. Like, that was his direct comment, which means the Eagles really need to get their ass in gear, because that window significantly closes when Saquon Barkley departs. Like, the amount of talent, the amount of experience, the amount of vision that he brings to that team, and the running back position, literally on the cover of Madden, the most historic season we've seen from a running back, not only on the Eagles, but in the NFL in years, he gave us in 2025. So all good things must come to an end, is the quote, or something like that. Doesn't last forever. And I think Eagles fans need to be a little bit more aware of that. And I hope that the organization is aware of that, of like, look, Saquon Barkley's body can't continue to take a beating for another 5 seasons like that. Like, that's just not going to happen. This offensive line cannot continue to take beatings like this for another 5 years. Like, you're going to need to bring other guys in and replace them. So I really hope that the Eagles are aware of that, because Jesse, I really want another Super Bowl. I know you do too. So they've really got to figure out, okay, like, what do we got to do to make this happen? And I think step one is maximizing your window when Barkley's here. And then when Barkley decides to leave in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, hopefully, maybe 5 if I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But when he decides to depart, then you can say, okay, we still have Jalen Hurts here. We still have Devontae Smith here. Fuck it. Maybe even AJ Brown's still here, right? Like, okay, where can we go with this? So it would be interesting, but I am nervous as a fan, because once Barkley leaves, man, this team's going to look a lot different. And I mean, even last year, Barkley was here, offensive line was the same, and it looked a lot different. So it's not only do you have to have the right team, he has to perform. And you have 2 years to do that. And it's like a lottery, right? So how many times are you going to do that? I know I'm rambling on, but I'm really nervous that they won't hit that jackpot again like they did last year. Knock on wood.
Listen, before we move on, I got to address this comment by Dennis. I don't know, man. I feel like Landon was just dealing with the injury bug. That's all it was. I don't know.
I think we'll see too. I agree with you. It's Franklin's fault, he's saying in the comments. That's funny, Dennis.
Of course it is. It's always Franklin's fault.
The the Lane needs to retire comment is an interesting one, because I thought about that today and I stopped myself, because here's the reason why, Dennis. If Lane Johnson was a subpar middle of the pack tackle last year in the NFL, I would agree. But Lane was like top of his position still when he played. The problem is, it's how healthy will he be? That's the real question. But I think you still probably have another year. And even if he goes out and plays 8 games and then plays for the playoffs, I'll take that. I know
Yeah.
that brings a lot of turmoil into the position, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, the real reason that I'm sort of chilling here is because, man, I think Howie, as he always is ready to absolutely freaking cook. And Dalt, you brought up a couple of names last night, um, in one of your last segments on the main show on 302 Birds. You brought up Isaiah Likely. I'm interested to see where your thought process is, but is there. But I first want to talk about this Kyle Pitts thing. There was a report out by the hang on, audio issues. Hang on. Oh no, hang on. Dalton, I don't know if you can hear me, but
Yeah, I can still
can
hear
you
you.
talk?
Yeah. You all good? Any better now? You're muted. So I'll keep running with it. I'll just run. But Minka Fitzpatrick is actually who's at the top of my wish list. That's who I would love to have. I think Minka would be a great fit for the Eagles. I think that the Eagles need help at safety. And of course, you have Dennis in here who is not a fan of Reed. Put some respect on his name. I don't know why you call him that, Dennis. Come on, man. But I would love if the Eagles brought in a true safety. Like, and it's no disrespect to CJ GJ, but like a safety that's serious about his business, a safety that just like is about that life. And I think CJ Gardner Johnson sometimes was more talk, more bark than bite. Give me a safety that's more bite than bark, right? Like a traditional Brian Dawkins, somebody that doesn't got to say it, somebody that's just going to go out there and lay you out. I would love that. So that would be my main top of my wish list is Minka, and then like you said earlier too, Isaiah Likely would be nice if they could find a way to incorporate him into a 2 tight end set. I would love that, and see where they go from there.
Yeah. Hey, appreciate that. But yeah, um, I'm really interested to see if they go Kyle Pitts. My concern with Kyle Pitts, I've heard this from Atlanta Falcon fans. He can't block. Apparently, he is a guy that can catch. We saw that. We saw that last year, sort of as your tight end, wide receiver type of guy. But we've talked about the offensive line this entire show. We need blockers. Grant Calcaterra can't block. Dallas Goedert can't block. Um, Sidney Brown can't do anything. Um, but I don't know. I don't know where you go with the tight end position. Um, I don't know if it's Kyle Pitts. I don't know if it is the draft. To be completely honest with you, because again, I mean, I don't know if the draft is completely stacked. Uh, in the tight end position. Uh, but I mean, there's still there is a shot that we pick a guy up in the draft. One more name, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. The Max Crosby buzz. Holy God, it is exploding over this last week or so. I again, I don't know if I see the fit because you still need to pay guys like Jordan Davis, like Jalen Carter. I still think that you got to bring back a guy like Nakobe Dean or Jalen Phillips, one of the two. And you still, in that scenario, if you're bringing in Max Crosby, that guy's he's gonna demand a first, a $500 million contract extension. It's going to be ridiculous. And listen, I love Howie Roseman. I think he's going to cook. But I don't know if Max Crosby is in the plans for the Philadelphia Eagles. Dole, thoughts on Max Crosby?
I would like it a lot at the right price, right? Like where is he going to want to be paid? Is he going to get traded? I'm not even aware. Is he going to get traded? Is he under contract or is he a free agent? Do you know?
He is. I think he's under contract, but he's in the situation where he's done with the Raiders crap. And I listen, I would be too. That organization is a bunch of, and I hate to use a quote by the legendary YouTuber Urinating Tree, but that organization is full of a bunch of lolcows. I'm sorry, it is. It's. I wouldn't want to be a fan of those guys. I wouldn't want to play for those guys. I mean, we saw the Eagles. They put on BTA against those guys this season. So I would want to leave if I were Max Crosby, but I don't know. I think he's definitely an option for the Eagles. I definitely believe the reports that the Eagles are in the top 5, but I just, with the guys that you need to pay and the guys that you're looking to bring back, because I'll tell you right now, if you lose Jalen Carter, you're in trouble. You're in major trouble. So, thoughts on that?
I would say I just looked at Max Crosby stats. I wouldn't say I'm a Max Crosby hater. I would say I'm a Max Crosby realist. There was a reason that Max Crosby was drafted later than he should have been. And that was mainly because his attitude. Teams were unsure about him. So I think the Raiders not only have done a good job managing Max Crosby and kind of taming his attitude, because he has one, but I feel like they are a team that he aligns with, that he respects. He respects their, like, I know that you make your jokes about the Raiders too, but the Raiders are one of the NFL's most historic organizations. They are. Now, their fans may be a little bit crazy, but they are a very historic organization that I think throughout the NFL may do dumb shit, but traditionally has respect. Like NFL royalty, I would say. Doesn't necessarily mean that they play well. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're a good organization. Just means that they're older. They have that reputation. You have the Davis family, Al Davis passing it on to Mark Davis. Now Tom Brady's getting into the mix. I think that the Raiders are someone that Crosby respects. But back to the point, looking at his stats, I mean, 2020, he had 7 sacks. 2021, he had 8. 2022 is when things started to ramp up a lot. And he had 12 and a half, 14 and a half in 2023. But 2024, he took a significant step back. And I don't know if that was because of injury or not. I'll have to look at that. But he had 7.5 sacks, and then he had 10 sacks in 2025. He's 28 years old. I just feel like, in my opinion, you're taking a gamble with the guy. And he turns 29 in August. So he'll be 29 going into this year. What are you going to give up for a guy that's going to be here for 1 or 2 seasons?
Not much.
I'm sorry, not be here for 1 or 2 seasons. Play at a high level for 1 or 2 seasons. And that's if all goes well on this gamble, right? Like, what if all goes bad? You got to look at that side too. So I don't know. If I was the Eagles and I gave up as much as they're probably going to have to give up for Max Crosby, I'd probably look to get younger if I'm going to give up that much. I'm not going to do that for somebody that's turning 29 before the season starts. And if I do like the way that Crosby plays, but I want to find a player on more of a budget, Bradley Chubb from the Denver Broncos, that's a name to watch. I think that he would be somebody that would be very ideal for the Eagles to bring in, would be a low risk, high reward, and kind of remind me of that signing that they had a couple years ago. Oh God, I'm drawing a blank. Who was the Bear that they brought in? Robert
Oh,
Quinn, was it?
yes.
Yeah. And like it
That
didn't
did
work
nothing.
out.
No, he
Yeah.
did
It,
nothing.
it didn't work out, but it didn't cost us anything, right? Think about a couple years before that. Here's a good example. Michael Bennett. That's a time that it did kind of work out, right? Like he wasn't the best end, but he certainly had a couple great plays for the Eagles here and there, had a couple great games. So I feel like the Eagles just, I think Bradley Chubb would be a way more wise decision. And we also know the Eagles have to pay a couple guys coming up. So that's where I would go.
Uh, Another name that I may, it may not be who I'm thinking of, but the Dolphins went on a little bit of a shipping out of town spree. Not talking about Tyreek, because God, I would stay as far away as physically possible, regardless of this AJ Brown situation.
Mm-hmm.
Minka Fitzpatrick, that's a name that I feel like the Eagles should definitely be interested in, especially coming into a familiar scheme with Fangio. I kind of dig that, you know?
Yeah, that'd be a great fit. That'd be a great fit. I won't like beat a dead horse. When you weren't here, that was what I talked about Minka to fill the
Yeah,
time. I said he's at the top of my wish
yeah,
list. So
yeah,
yeah, I would love if he came here. And like you brought up, that connection with Vic. Same thing with Chubb, you know? So
yeah.
I think Vic could kind of say, okay, let me bring in some guys that I understand their character. And this defense will look pretty solid next year.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Talk some Phils. Talk some, well, some more Eagles. Because Jesus, these guys keep showing up in the media for various reasons. We'll start with Bryce Harper. You all remember at the beginning of the offseason, Dave Dombrowski said that Bryce Harper is not elite and or did not have an elite season and called into question if he can have that again. Now, I think if you're Bryce Harper, you let that blow over and you know, you let things sort of you let it you let it blow by, you let things cool off a little bit, and then you get into spring training, right? And then um you know, you kind of you gotta blow it off a little bit. I feel like you gotta let things go, because let's be honest, Dave, I'm sorry, like that is not smart from a not smart GM. And I wonder, where Bryce's head was sort of at when he goes, oh, it wasn't, it wasn't necessary. It wasn't, it didn't need to be a thing. Well, it hasn't been a thing. It hasn't been a thing for months. I don't understand why Bryce Harper is making this a thing again. That now the media is all over him. They're going to be all over Dave again, which I'm not. It's a weird situation because I am a Dave Dombrowski hater, as I feel like the majority of Philadelphia fans are these days. But I almost side with Dave here. Like, why make this a problem when it's not a problem anymore? I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I think that they're both responsible in this, right? Dave didn't do his job this offseason. Bryce is frustrated about it. But at the same time, Bryce is being a little bit of a baby about it. I hate to say it. Busting with the boys, I give him a pass for. Um, when you're on that podcast, you know that you're going to get asked that question. Like that's just how it is. And I don't think that there was anything wrong with Bryce's answer. I think Dave got up on the podium. Dave might have been having a bad day too, because Bryce wasn't the only one that got kind of, called out in that press conference. And I think that, what Dave said also had some truth. Bryce wasn't the best version of himself last year. But as a man, you can't be okay with yourself saying that, but not other people, right? Like that's the opposite of accountability, that you can't take other people saying it, but you're allowed to say it. Like it can't be a day of the week thing for Bryce Harper. So I hate to say this, but I am a little bit disappointed in Bryce and the way that he approached this. Some of the questions that he's been asked, I don't think are his fault. Some of the answers that he's given have egged this on a little bit. But like I said on the show last night, and like you said a couple minutes ago, this probably won't be a thing a week or two from now, because you're going to have spring training start. You're going to have the World Baseball Classic. You're going to have all these things that start beginning that are going to take away from it.
Yeah. And Dennis, he brings up honestly, he brings up a good point. I am disappointed in Bryce because I thought he was more mature than his Washington days. We all saw the fight with him and Papelbon, but he's grown since then. The fight with Strickland, that was a boy. What we've seen out of Bryce Harper these last 3 years as a Philly is Bryce Harper as a man. He keeps things internal. He keeps things to him. I don't want to say to himself, but he holds himself to a higher standard than he did in Washington. And I feel like going on that podcast, going to the media, that literally that first time that he gets media available, one of the first times he gets media availability in spring training, one of the first things he's asked, which, I mean, I guess it's to be expected. You're going to, like you mentioned, he's going to be asked, something like that. But it feels like this is going to be a root cause of some clubhouse issues. And listen, this club knows clubhouse issues. Nick Castellanos, during the season, brought in a freaking beer to the clubhouse. Yeah. And
Very true.
So I'm really concerned that this is kind of gonna snowball.
I hope it's not the new normal for the Phils. We'll see. I would say give it a couple weeks. I don't think that it's going to be a problem again for a little bit, right? Like, take a deep breath, Phillies fans. I don't think that this will be an issue again until next year's off season. Now, depending on how this season goes, will determine how much of an issue it is, right? They go to the World Series, even if they lose, nobody's going to be fucking talking about this. Sorry, pardon my French, but like nobody's going to care, right? Like everybody's going to be like, oh yeah, all is good. Dave, you made a couple good moves. We doubted you, but you did something. Bryce, you're still Bryce, right? Like we'll all not care. But if they don't even make the playoffs, or if they get knocked out first round of the playoffs, even second round at this point, right? Like it's a rinse and repeat with them. This is going to be remembered by Bryce and by Dave in the offseason. Like, it's not just, like, everybody looks at this from the perspective of Bryce Harper because he's the player. He's our guy. And I understand. I get it. I do too. But you also got to look at it from organization and ownership standpoint. And at some point, when does Bryce Harper step up too? Right? Like, you can't have the season that you had and not perform and then expect everybody to kind of kiss ass. That's the way I see it. And that's me saying that because I'm not a huge baseball fan. I'm more of an NFL fan. So I would say I don't have as much of a sweet spot for Bryce Harper as other people do.
Yeah. Well, let's switch to the NFL. Because Bryce was not the only guy that jumped on a pod. AJ Brown did this past week or so, and now he's all like he's on this media tour that I love these guys, and I'd love to be back, and I'll die for this squad, and now it seems like um, Adam Schefter comes on 97.5 the other week or the other day, and one day he's like, I'd give it a 54% chance that he's traded, and then the next day he's like 48. So all this crap, it's wishy washy, and I smell. I smell something, Dalt. I smell bullshit. I smell bullshit. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's from AJ playing games or the Eagles internally playing games. Some doesn't smell right about this whole situation. You know?
The Eagles saying that they're going to keep AJ Brown is a flat out lie. I'm not going to sit here and act like it's not. They just tried to trade Jalen Carter last offseason, arguably their best player after winning the Super Bowl. Like, anybody's on the table then. AJ on that podcast, I knew it. I'm right. I'm always right when it comes to these things with AJ. Like, I hate to sound cocky, but it's true. Because I had so many people in the comments, Dalton, you're wrong. Dalton, you're not a real Eagles fan. Dalton, you just don't like AJ. You're going to sit here and confidently tell me that AJ Brown going on a Patriots podcast is going to end up well for the Eagles, right? Like, it's a ticking time bomb. I knew right away when I saw AJ Brown goes on Patriots podcast, not even just Patriots podcast with Gronkowski and Edelman, that drama's going to be stirred up. Some kind of story is going to come out, and AJ's going to play into it somehow. Yep. And sure as shit, it was a slow burn. It didn't happen right away, but it took somebody a second, and there was that wink when they said, "You're a Patriot, right, AJ?" And he goes, "What are you doing, dude? Like, what are you doing?"
Idiot.
That ticks me off. You can't do that. You can laugh about it. You can have fun. You can be not happy in your situation. But in my opinion, the winking was a little bit unprofessional. You got to just be better than that. You got to think about, how is that going to make the organization that pays you feel? How is that going to make the owners feel? Like Jeffrey Lurie, the guy who signed your paycheck, Howie Roseman, the guy who gave up so much to get you here. Like, it just makes you, I feel like, look dumb, AJ. And you're smarter than that. You're better than that. And if he wouldn't have done that winking, I would actually give him a lot of credit for the way that he handled this offseason. But there, of course, had to be one slip up. And it's going to turn into, I think, a bigger one than people think. Because, like you said, Jess, you said it perfectly. I smell bullshit too, my man. And I think it's coming. But I got to roll. I just got to go head out because I got to get these dogs ready. But thank you guys very much for having me on here. You and Adam are doing a great job. If you guys haven't, be sure to like and comment on this video to help Jesse out. I appreciate you, Jess.
Yeah, that's going to wrap things up for sure. I want to thank Dalt for coming on. Just before you run out, anything I'm pretty sure I know what you want to promote, but what do you want to promote? This is your shot.
Really, just like, comment, subscribe if you guys can. That helps the channel out a ton. Those little things are a great way for us to grow. And as we get bigger and bigger, you guys are the real reason that we're able to do this.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap things up for this week's edition of the Philly Sports Pulse on 302 Birds. Thank you all for watching, and tune in next week for Philly Sports Pulse Live on 302 Birds. All I got to say, I hate Dalton to steal your line, but God bless, and go Birds.